Good morning, friends. It's another day, and better way to start it better than with the Word of God. I was reading the Second Thessalonians this morning. I was actually listening to Radio 7 last night, driving home or something. And there was a pastor talking about that letter, second letter of Thessalonians, giving some historical background and all of that, and just got me more interested again. I've read that letter probably 100 of times, maybe more, who knows. But I wanted to read it again with that perspective. Anyway, I came to read a particular verse which intrigued me. And so that is Second Thessalonians chapter 1 and King James Version. I'm reading verse 11. Wherefore also we pray always for you, that our God would count you worthy of his calling, and fulfill all the good pleasure of his goodness, and the work of faith with power. In some versions here, I got those like some kind of a literal translation. It says that would fulfill all the good pleasure of his goodness and work of faith in power. So, interesting as it is, life rewards action. There's power in doing things. It says the work of faith in power or with power. So God would fulfill two things: good pleasure, of course, but then the work of faith in power. There is power in doing things. And so often we just intend to do things. We plan, we have dreams, we have intentions, we attempt maybe, we desire, we will to do it, we want to do it, but we never get around doing it. And why? Well, we think that what happens if I don't come through? What happens if it doesn't work out, or if I lose my investment, lose my time or whatever I put in, and we get discouraged, we never start. We postpone things. That's another thing we do, right? We say tomorrow, like this smoker who wanted to quit smoking, and he laid plaque above his bed, and every morning when he opened his eyes, he read that plaque which said, "Tomorrow I will quit smoking," exclamation mark. And then he said, well, it's tomorrow, not today. Okay. Good way to postpone it. But power is in doing. I've talked to people who wanted to quit drinking or drugs. Oh, I'm going to try to do it gradually. I'm going to try to wean myself off. Well, it most of the times doesn't work. You leave the door open. You don't make this quality decision. You just leave it open to circumstances. If there is no, severe situations coming into my life at the time that would cause me to run and escape again into that drug life, then I try to quit. So you got to make a quality decision. Come whatever may, I have made up my mind. I'm going to be free of that, and I'm going to act like that from here on. And that has power of deliverance, the power of choice, the power of action. But many people don't do things like that because they're afraid of losing out and something doesn't work out. They get ashamed, they lose investment, they lose whatever they put in. And I remember in 1996, I happened to see a video by Peter J. Daniels. Somebody had sent that video to me from America. I had attended a conference there in New Jersey, Edison, and met some people, and they talked about Peter J. Daniels and soon sent me the video. I remember it was recorded in extra slow motion, that American system to start with, but my VCR played it back, and so anyway, the quality wasn't much to talk about. The message touched my life deeply. It was a divine moment. And I knew from that day forward that God wanted me to do some business aside as well, being in the ministry, which I already knew He had called me into His ministry. And I then, in 2004, I formed our first corporation. I had tried to collect money for it because back then you had to put in 40,000 Estonian crowns, kroners, whatever you call it back then. But anyway, I didn't have that kind of a money. My salary was way short of that, even to collect that. And so anyway, but while in America, I preached for a friend of mine, and there are people who were so gracious. And I remember it wasn't a big church, so that offering he gave me, he said, is one of the largest he's seen. So anyway, I took some of that money, or most of that money, I guess, or even maybe all of it, and put it into that company, formed a company. And I remember I had the name for that. I had everything. Now it was all ready to run. And then I said to myself, well, now what? Because I had no idea what to do next. And then eventually I decided I got to do something. And I wanted to print Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole book, Courage, into Estonian language. So I took that project on. Of course, that was never successful. Selling Christian books in Estonia, you sell very few, you never make a real profit anyway. You keep those books forever. You, like a cat, carry your kittens around with these boxes from one office to another, from one storehouse to another storehouse. And you sell them very gradually, and most Estonian Christian people don't invest into Christian books really seriously anyway. So that was a failure. But that was a start, and other opportunities opened up because I started to act. So you got to start acting. And there is power that is in doing things, that is not in intending. And that's part of the reason some people don't see breakthroughs, don't see their dreams come true, because they never start, because there's never enough provision. There's never enough money to do what God has called you to do. You got to start out with what you have and then move forward. Of course, there are some projects you want to be a good manager and make sure that you don't do something stupid and then be, a burden to somebody and somebody trying to bail you out or something. I understand that. We got to be good managers and, of God's money and our money, and be wise stewards, sure. But most things don't happen. And people wait, like I did at one point myself. I lived in a small house in Pärnu City, and that was inheritance from my mom. Actually, she gave it to me, but she inherited it. It's a small house. I lived in there. I enjoyed it, but it was old, and I felt like I wanted to renovate this whole thing, and I had an idea of how to rebuild the whole thing and make this room not just one level, but 2 levels and open to below, and just have this unique layout. And I didn't know anything about building. I had never laid sheetrock or done any plastering or painting or any major things. None of that. I mean, so I was totally afraid of moving out. I was concerned, and I wanted somebody to come along and just encourage me. I wanted somebody to just come by and say, Jano, I had a dream from the Lord last night, and He told me that you would want to rebuild this house, and I am supposed to come and help you do it. I wanted people like that to come into my life, and nobody came. I remember I invited a couple of guys over, and one was a professional builder. And I said, take a look at it, and what do you think? And he looked at it and heard my idea, and he said, well, that's not doable and very dangerous, and you got to watch out for that. And oh man, I felt worse than better when he left. And some others came, but never really, came on board. So I was just there, and remember one day I decided enough is enough. I didn't have any money to even do this whole thing. I mean, I actually didn't think of just doing all what I did. That just unraveled later, but I wanted to just do one room. And I had no extra income. My salary was small. I could maybe feed myself, pay my bills, and have a very little left extra. Anybody builds houses or you have done renovations, you know how much it costs. And I remember I invited some guys from my church over, and I said, let's just cut a door here. That was a log home, and a home made of logs and covered with bricks and things like that. So I said, I'm gonna do this door right here because I don't want to go by from one room to another room, and so let's make this privacy here. And I thought that would work out, so they came with the chainsaw and cut it in there. That took, a few hours, I think, and there were nails in there and everything, so it was a major challenge. But anyway, when we sat down after the work was done, there was this fume in the kitchen. We were sitting, I opened all the doors, the fume just increased. I thought of this being, fume from the chainsaws. But then I realized my house was burning. So we had to call out the fire people and extinguishers. I mean, the people that do that. And 2 of these cars or trucks came over, and my neighbors were looking and saying, what this crazy pastor is doing, So I'm renovating my house, First day I'm doing it, I'm putting my house on fire. So anyway, that's how it started. They got the fire extinguished, everything was cleared away, but that's how this whole thing started out. It was all unknown. I did not know how to do first thing. I had no money. I just began to do it. And I remember God honored it, because there is power in the work of faith. Not just a faith in your heart, but when you start to work it out in your life. That American lady sent me $100 with the envelope. Back then, can't remember exactly, but that could have been, I guess, almost my whole month's salary. And anyway, I was able to buy lots of things, and then she got excited about that this was right on. She sent me another 200 with the envelope. And that was a miracle it arrived in the first place. Anyway, I was able to buy the windows and store and different things for the room I was renovating. So this is the way it started to just go. And it was one miracle after another. Somebody donated me some lumber and timber and somebody gave me some other things. Then some guys came to help me out and actually, work on my house. And, most of them just did it free of charge. And it was a miracle after another. I didn't just have that funds. And when I did have that, I was able to buy some materials. And but it came to pass, and finally it was all done one day. And even there was a man who came, a friend of mine from the States, and he just came by my house before we went to Latvia to a conference. And later he said that God spoke to him to give me either 5 or 7,000 US dollars. He said, I'm not sure yet which is the right sum, but he later ended up giving me 7,000. That paid for the new fireplace, the kitchen cabinets, and the stairs to the second floor. And everybody who came to my house in that street, they loved the house. Everybody loved it. It was a miracle of God. They said there was a special presence of God. So I know faith works, and it works through action. So I would encourage you to think today what it is that you're just putting off, putting on, not putting on, but like postponing it on. You don't want to do it. You just wait for better conditions, better timing, more money. Lots of potential, dreams, intentions just sitting inside of you. Never get into this realm without the power of action, actually doing it. So, friend, faith can become perfected and fulfilled in the power of action and doing it. So if and when God has spoken to you about certain things, remember, there's never enough provision for the whole thing. You just gotta start out with what you have and see the rest of the miracles along the way. That's what faith is all about. If you believe something, do it. If you believe in a project, in a dream, do it. Because life rewards action.